What plane would you like to return to? Dominaria, hands down. For those of you too young to remember, Dominaria used to be the center of the multiverse, and many, not just one, but many Magic the Gathering sets were set on Dominaria over huge spans of geography. It's one of the few planes where we hear about different continents that are vastly different from one another. And even different time periods. I'd love to go back there. What plane would you want to go to that we have not yet been? Muragonda. This is the dinosaur plane. We've had it mentioned in flavor texts of several cards, and it is known to be a plane of prehistoric fantasy, ruled by dinosaurs and probably the incorrect in our timeline anyway, combination of cavemen-like creatures or maybe cave elf, I don't know. But I very much want to go to the dinosaur plane, because dinosaurs is why. Do you play video games? Do I play video games? Child, I've been playing video games since before you were born. In my day, we didn't need any links to the past or confangled Twilight princesses. We simply had The Legend of Zelda. And if that weren't enough, Link would just go on an adventure. That's the way it was, and we liked it. Yes, I play a lot of video games, but old people video games. I love that there's such a thing as old people video games. How old are you? I am 35 years young. Which set features your favorite overall card art? That's a tough one. Because, I really love the art in most sets. But I'm going to have to say, if you pin me down, that the Lorwyn saga, all four of those sets, essentially, featured my absolute favorite overall art. And after all, these are sets that featured Rob Alexander, Rebecca Gay, and Therese Nielsen throughout, as well as many other really talented artists, but I just loved the fantasy storybook-like setting, the beauty of some of these pieces of art. What got you to come back to Magic the Gathering after you quit as a teenager? Remember when I said I had all of the original revised dual lands, and the word that I used was had? Well, when I went off to college, I decided to sell all my Magic cards. If you're going to leave Magic the Gathering, consider keeping your cards. You might come back, boys and girls. You might come back. And when I left, my very, very, very good friend, he said to me, don't sell your cards. You're going to want them again someday. And I said, pshaw. Adults don't play Magic the Gathering. I'm going off to college. I want to get $10 per revised dual land. Big money at the time. And I did. He saved his cards. And just several years ago, he pulled out that box and said, hey, look at this. My old Magic cards. And we pulled out a few of his old decks. And I was hooked. And I was back down at the store and buying again. Do you have a favorite Magic the Gathering novel? Yes, the Whispering Woods trilogy by Clayton Emery. There's a channel called The Mana Source where they do these amazing, awesome lore reviews going over the Magic the Gathering novels. Wouldn't it be cool if we could convince that awesome channel to go over these awesome books? The kids gotta learn about green sleeves from someone, Wedge. Can you do a video about Highlander decks and the format in general? Yes, I'm getting to it, guys. I promise. I'm doing tons of videos eventually on Highlander. I'm writing the scripts, and I want to make it really spectacular, because I think it's the best Magic the Gathering format is plain old Highlander for casual and competitive players alike. I really do. If you've never played it, you're missing out for casual and competitive alike. And I really want to, because it's so underplayed, except in a few select areas, and sadly not where I'm at, I want to really do a big bang. And so I'm writing several scripts, and we can have like a Highlander week or two. And I'm doing the same thing for Pauper, and that's Pauper, like the Prince and the Pauper. A lot of people are spelling it Pauper, like pop goes the weasel. It's like the Prince and the Pauper because you use only commons, so it's inexpensive. I like inexpensive and fun. Highlander, Pauper, Cube, awesome. All of those great formats I will be doing, I promise. But remember, I can only do a couple videos a week. I have a full-time job, and when I want to make them really, really good and scripted, it takes extra time. I will be getting to them. You will live to see them, I promise. Should I try and collect one of every single card from Khans of Tarkir? I get this question a lot in varying forms. Should I try and collect one of every card? Is this a good idea? And my answer to that is, I don't know. What do you want to do? Do you want to make a competitive deck for at the very least going down to your card store and playing Friday Night Magic? Or a competitive enough standard deck to play at home with friends, but that is of a true standard nature or modern or whatever? If so, getting one of every card in a set will not give you what you need to make that deck. I guess unless you're doing a Highlander deck, but I'll get to that. You need to decide for yourself if you want the collection or if you want the deck. Now, if you can afford to do both, that's great. But know that getting one of every card from Khans of Tarkir, most of those cards will never need to be played in your deck, will never see play, and will be there for collection purposes only. You'll be spending a lot of money on cards that are only going to sit in your binder. And I'm a big collector. I have a lot of cards that only sit in my binder. I don't mean that in a bad way, but you must recognize that one of every card in a set does not equal the ability to build every possible deck. You'd need 4 of every card, first of all, to choose from. Anyway, second of all, many of those cards were designed only for draft, meaning they were made intentionally bad or intentionally okay, or with other drawbacks so that during a draft, players evaluate. Remember that booster packs are made for that draft these days. And so a lot of those cards aren't going to see standard play or aren't going to be of any use to you in your constructed deck. So you must decide what your priorities are. Are you a collector? Is that something you want sitting on your shelf that you want to invest your time and effort into? Then go for it. If you can afford it and it makes you happy, go for it. But if what you're looking for is, and then I have every card, and once I have every card, I can build the ultimate deck. No, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. But you will not be able to do that with one of every card from Khans of Tarkir. I have 2 English degrees. That's right, 1. Not 1, but 2. 2. And I just said Khans of Tarkir. Beer. Yeah, I'm sick right now with a major infection in my throat, so I'm not doing another take on that. You get the point. I'm just like chugging this soda water in between every take to keep my voice together. Sorry about the somewhat irregular schedule, guys, but illness, you know. All right, next. What are your thoughts on Magic Online? What's Magic Online? I can't get on Magic Online because I, like 50% of the population, have a Mac, and Macs don't run Magic Online. But I hear from all my friends on PCs that they don't run Magic Online very well. The truth of the matter is I've used Magic Online before. I've managed to get it to run on my Mac before you start sending in all your fixes. I do boot camp and I do all that stuff. But ever since the update, it has gotten so cumbersome and so difficult to use without it crashing, without it having errors, that I've taken a hiatus from it. I will return to it when they fix it, and then I will talk about it. But in the meantime, it is too frustrating and too non-functional for me as a Mac user to really use effectively. What was the very first Mythic Rare you got? So when I left the game, they didn't have Mythic Rares. When I returned to the game, the new set that was coming out was Innistrad, and I loved immediately that artwork on the box of Liliana sitting on her throne. That one, so much more than the No Offense to Steve Argyle, whose art I love, but that art on the box, on the Innistrad booster box and packs, is my absolute favorite drawing of her. It looks like it's not, but it looks like it's on an oil painting sort of thing. And I just was in love with the character from seeing that. It so captured the spirit. I was very excited about this new set. And I went to my very first pre-release ever, because I didn't do pre-releases back during Fallen Empires. And I opened my very first pack, and I swear to you, the mythic in that pack, that's right, was Liliana of the Veil. And so, yes, that card has a very special place in my heart, and that was my very first mythic that I ever cracked, and I remember that quite clearly. What is your favorite Magic mechanic? Oh, absolutely, flying. Do you know how cool the flying mechanic is? It makes it so that your creatures cannot even be blocked by non-flying or non-reach creatures. So powerful, flying. Definitely flying. What's your opinion on the Magic the Gathering movie they are developing? You just sighed loudly when asked about the Magic the Gathering movie, but you didn't actually say anything. Can you say actual words? Also, this doesn't count as an additional question. All right, fine. Here's my opinion of the developing Magic the Gathering movie, which may or may not ever get made and come out. I am not a fan of it. I don't like when they turn books into movies, and I'm not a big fan of them turning Magic the Gathering into a movie. Why? Because they will try and make a movie for people who don't play Magic the Gathering. Just like every single one of those Star Trek The Next Generation movies, they said their motto was, we want to make a movie for people who aren't fans of Star Trek. No, you do it for people who are fans of it, and if you make a quality product, then other people will come too. But they're just going to try and design this thing to be as attractive as possible to what they think the general audience is, which means dumb it down, simplify it. It's going to be about Jace. Woo. And whatever. How bad could it get? I don't know. Pretty bad. I'm not excited. If they said they wanted to do a love letter to the fans, then I'd be intrigued. But an ad to non-fans? Not so thrilled. Do you have a Patreon? How can I support the channel? Can I buy a t-shirt? I do not currently have a Patreon, and in the foreseeable future, I'm not too sure that that's going to happen. I am working on t-shirts, but that might take a little while longer. In the meantime, if you feel so inclined, and you will be thanked from the bottom of my heart, of course, you can leave a tip or make a donation for me with this direct support for content creators that YouTube allows. But please, the best way you can support me, and the way that you have always supported me, is simply by watching the channel, subscribing, sharing's nice, and leaving a comment. But yeah, there's a tip jar if you like. But anyway, what's your favorite Star Trek episode, and what happened in it? Why do you guys keep making me pick favorites like this? There's so much love I have to give to Magic the Gathering sets and mechanics and artists and Star Trek episodes. How about favorite Star Trek series? Next Generation, followed by Deep Space Nine. Favorite episode overall? I'm gonna say I can't. Most important social commentary episode. Probably the Drumhead on Star Trek The Next Generation, in where a legitimately caught spy on the ship and a coincidental accident causes a kind of military tribunal that runs out of hand, where innocent people are being accused of wrongdoing, and everyone in the shadows seems to be a villain. And it's a great commentary on the idea of what happens when you no longer can trust your neighbors or your colleagues or your countrymen, and you turn inward. The name comes from the idea of a drumhead military tribunal, where very little fact and very little evidence and a great deal of fear motivated some horrible injustices. But oh my goodness, there's so many beautiful, great episodes. I couldn't possibly pick one as my overall favorite. And Duet on Deep Space Nine was amazing as well. That's an easy one. How about favorite Deep Space Nine episode? Duet, Season 1. What is your favorite kind of soup? Really? Okay, this one's easy. Minestrone. But I love all soups. I have so much. Do you have a tweeter? I think you mean Twitter. I do have a Twitter. It's at Tolarian College. I also have a Facebook page. Please feel free to follow me on Facebook and Twitter. I don't know what a tweeter. I don't know what a tweeter is. What is it that I can do to make an LGS more accepting and open? Our playgroup is mostly women, and we don't feel welcome as a whole the few times we've tried going to game stores. Well, the first thing I'd suggest is talking to the game store owner, and this is obviously going to vary from game store to game store, but I do believe that the vast majority of game store owners want their store to be a welcoming place for everyone. And I do believe that the vast majority of Magic players do want their game store and their social interaction and presence to be a welcoming place for everyone, even if they might inadvertently be doing things that create an atmosphere that is unwelcoming. And unfortunately, that one jerk or that one rotten person can oftentimes be louder than the rest of us, and we often feel that we must be silent as they overtake the place, and that does happen. But I'd really suggest talking to the owner first, saying, hey, we're a play group, mostly women, just what you just said or wrote, mostly women, and we'd love to come into Friday Night Magic. We feel a little uncomfortable. Tell them why. And you're very likely going to find them say, please come. We want to personally make sure that we do what we can do to make this a welcoming atmosphere. You're a customer, after all. You've got money, and they want money. And if they're smart, they want to get as much money as possible and as many customers as possible. They don't want to exclude that. They want to embrace that. That's good for them, good for businesses to have you and your group come in regularly and play, because then you'll be spending. This is good for everybody. Everybody wins. And so start by talking to the owner. But if you happen to unfortunately live near a play store where, well, for whatever reason, they're not interested in creating that welcoming environment, or they can't. Sometimes, unfortunately, a store might be owned by someone who's never there, and the management is problematic or simply incapable of making changes. This happens. You can try writing the owner, but you can also just have your own play group outside of the store. I'm going to link. I can't link it like a YouTube ad, sorry, but I can link it in the description, and there's this great article. Here's your reading homework, everyone. Not just this person who asked the question, but if you live somewhere where there isn't a good local game store, there isn't a game store at all, or you've got problems at that game store or whatever, you can still do your own private play group. And there's this brilliant article by Tifa Robles, who runs the brilliant, and I wish I lived in the area, I don't, but there's many chapters across the country of the Lady Planeswalkers Society, which is just such a group set up in response to your sort of question. And she talks about in this brilliant article starting your own private play groups and how you can have your own Friday Night Magic at a venue of your choice, or you can work in coordination with game stores to have your own events. So go check that out, and I would really suggest following her advice or taking that to heart. You always give us advice to support our local game store, but what do you do when you are on a tight budget and the game store simply does not compete with online prices? I do always say you can't play Magic at Target or Walmart, so when you spend that money, spend it where you spend time playing Magic, and that's at your local game store, and I really believe that. But you know what? If you can't afford to support your local game store for whatever reason, the number one priority is to your wallet, especially if you're on a tight budget. But even if you're not, what I mean when I say that, by the way, is that if you're going out to buy a dual deck and it's $20 at Target and it's $20 at your local game store, buy it at your local game store, please. They are going to have a hell of a time competing with Target or Walmart. And maybe if it's $21.95 or even $22.95, you might spend that extra couple of dollars at your local game store if you can comfortably afford to do so, because that is where you sit down and play Magic. And so it's a little tip. It's like a tip at the end of a meal, but it's a tip to that game store where you do get to play Friday Night Magic in pre-release so that they can keep operating. They're not making $1 million, and I'd very much love to do one of my dream videos, and again, like the Highlander ones, I want to get it right, and it will come eventually, is why it is worth it to spend that extra couple of bucks at your local game store and support them. But there are times when, hey, the card they're charging $10 for, and you can have it for $4. delivered to your door. That happens at some places. I never would say, well, give them the $10. That's too much. That's out where you got to attend to your priorities. And I recently said, hey, oh my gosh, you guys, with all the fervor of the new Commander precons, in the USA anyway, you can get some of the 2013 Commander precons for like $20 delivered to your door. Your local game store probably doesn't have them at that price, probably doesn't have them anywhere near that price. And you know what? Follow your wallet. You've got a good bargain, snatch it up. But what I do want is that if you can buy the card for 75 cents online and you can buy it at your local game store for 85 cents, well, maybe you might consider spending that dime there with them. They make most of their money off of singles anyway. And don't be afraid to say, hey, can you compete with these online prices? Look, I'd like to support you, but when you're charging $150 and I can have it delivered to my door for $100, there's a point where it is unreasonable. I simply cannot afford to do that. None of us can. Talk with them. Maybe they'll be able to work something out. They're human. They're running a business, and they're there for you, hopefully. 9 times out of 10, they are. I really do believe that. Who are your favorite Magic the Gathering YouTubers? Oh, here we go with your favorites again. Your favorite. I have so much love to give. Okay, who do I watch? Who do I enjoy? Here's the list in no particular order. Mythic, MTG, Tech, the brilliant Brian Rowe, who, by the way, is a lawyer. Yes, you have to be smart to play this game. Wedge over at the Mana Source. If you haven't heard of Wedge, well, time to go meet him. Go check out his videos. You're gonna like it. Impatiently waiting for my introductory Cube videos? Why not go take a graduate course in Cube over with MILO, the Gathering? Not only Cube Talk, but wonderful spoilers and financial advice is easily found at Roxabox90. Ever wonder what it was like to work in a card shop or what it's like on the other side of the counter? Well, now you don't have to with Dirium's CCG's Card Shop Life. Love it! It's fan favorite, Mr. Labufu serves up his intense commentary on all things Magic. And speaking of Magic, don't forget to see the Magic Man Sam. I certainly enjoyed his recent Modern Master series, and I think you would too. You know who I love? The Rogue Deck Builder. Oh my goodness, what a brilliant channel. This guy is someone who is capable of doing something I can only dream of, which is building rogue decks. Very clever, very interesting stuff. I also love the addictive channel of MTG McQuacks, Bad Wolf MTG, Top and Go Productions. Oh my goodness, you guys, you want a budget deck? You want a top deck? Go check out for Commander Deck Tech, Top and Go Productions. Love them. Also a big fan of Going In Games. Merfolk Magic 5, more keen insight and analysis. Quad 9's always a pleasure when he updates. Always a fan. Same goes for Lengthy Zemet. Absolute MTG. Excellent financial advice and biting commentary from MTG Lion. Rawr. Don't forget the big guys at MTG headquarters, Gathering Magic, The Magic Show, that's another great one. Oh my goodness, am I forgetting someone? I'm probably forgetting someone. If I'm forgetting someone, I'm sorry. I love you, I swear. Mention it in the comments. Do you love someone I didn't mention? Mention in the comments. Plug away, plug away. It's the Magic the Gathering community.